Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Abigail Barella with Sparkle and Shine Guidance. Today, we're talking about Jupiter in Cancer, and we're going to do a house by house. For each house, I'm going to give a little description of what you might be noticing for this transit. You might notice that you have Cancer in one or two houses, and so you're just going to want to look for that little 69 point in your chart and see where that's occupying in your chart and what number house it's in or houses it's in. I am a firm believer in doing it this way. I really notice that it's for a lot of different reasons, it's just much more accurate to do house by house. So that's what I'm doing. And first, I'm going to start with talking about Jupiter, talking about Cancer, talking about Jupiter exalted in Cancer, what this can mean for the collective, and the last time we had this transit, and what you might notice if you're old enough to notice what was happening for you during that time. And then finally, what this might be like if you're having your Jupiter return, or if, one of your children or someone you know or someone close to you is having this Jupiter return, what that could mean for you. Okay, so if you don't already follow, you might want to like and follow. I'm going to be posting soon the Uranus in Gemini video, and that's going to be really big. So if you want to stay tuned, definitely follow so that you can see that. So we're talking about June 9th, 2025 to June 29th, 2026. This is when we're having this Jupiter in Cancer. And we're going to have a lot of other transits happening during that time. And a lot of other major players are a part of this. And I'm going to talk about the transits as well. But first, I want to reflect back or help you reflect back onto the time of June 25th, 2013 to July 16th, 2014. Gosh, it feels so weird to even say those dates now. That was the last time Jupiter was in Cancer. Now, think back to that time. What was going on for you? It's really easy for me to identify what was happening for me. I lost my mom. That was like the 9-month journey of going through that loss process, but also what I gained from that because my mom, I was raised in upstate New York. I live on the opposite coast now. And during that time, I was flying back a lot with my three children, my three young children under 7. And I was spending a lot of time in the land of my birth and where I was raised, and my children got to see that and got to go sledding and experience the land and experience my family. And so obviously that was really impactful for me. And so when we're thinking about Jupiter and Cancer, it's going to bring up themes around family, nostalgia, expansion of our understanding, our love, the abundance that can come from that lineage, that land of your birth, the land of your home, um, the house you grew up in, all of those things are really important and impactful. So think back to what was happening for you around 2013 to 2014. What initiation were you in? What was happening for you around that time? And likely you'll see similar but different themes coming up this time. So this transit happens every 12 years. I've talked a lot about Jupiter before in past videos, but I do want to say that Jupiter is the planet of good fortune, expansion, growth, generosity, abundance, learning, and sharing. And just like anything good and benevolent as Jupiter is, we can have too much of something. It can also be too much drinking, too much weight gain, too much growth. It's often the time that kids go through growth spurts and growing pains because their bones are growing, they're going through puberty. It's a very uncomfortable process. So while Jupiter is benevolent, we can have uncomfortable growth periods during this time, uncomfortable abundance, things coming to us and maybe not feeling worthy or not feeling like we deserve it. There's a lot of different things that can come up around this Jupiterian energy. Obviously, your own natal Jupiter has information to tell you about this and what house that's in. We're talking about the transiting Jupiter, which leads me to might as well just talk about if this is your Jupiterian return, Jupiter return. If you have Jupiter in Cancer, it's a really important time to look at that, and because it's going to be amplified. So whichever house this is in, listening to the house by house, but understanding that not only the transiting Jupiter is there, but you're also getting this zing. I often think about like acupuncture. If you are familiar with acupuncture, it's like hitting this point, right? It's hitting this meridian that is like amplifying even more. So when we're talking about the good things about Jupiter in Cancer, there can be more of that. And when we're talking about the possibly negative things, there can definitely also be more of that. And so thinking back again to that time period when Jupiter was in Cancer last, if you're old enough to like think about the themes, um, you'll see some certain themes, and it's likely that that's going to expand even more. So when we're talking about your Jupiter return, it's like expansion on hyper drive, right? So it can be really uncomfortable. It can be extremes, right? So that's if you're in your Jupiter return. So I talked a bit about Jupiter. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. And I want to talk about this a little bit because I'm going to talk about Cancerian energy, and I'm going to talk about its expulsion here. One way to help you understand Jupiter's exaltedness in Cancer is to understand where Jupiter is at its fall and it's at its detriment, and then to look at the qualities of Cancer to understand this. Jupiter's natural placement is in modern rulership Sagittarius, traditional rulership Pisces. I really feel a lot more of that Sagittarian energy, the expansion, the travel, the learning capacity, like mind blowing results, or whatever, like learning and growing. But also in Pisces, it's like there's no boundaries, right? It's like boundless. And expansion in that way as well. When we think about Jupiter's detriment, Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini and Virgo. Mercurial energy, overthinking things, the details. How's this going to work? What are the details that need to happen? Like, um, yeah, like what do I need to do to make this happen? And I think about like manifesting energy or like bringing things to you. Our brains can often work against us. And so thinking about Gemini and Virgo, very mercurial energy, works against Jupiter's energy in some way. And we've been in this transit. Jupiter has been in Gemini this last year. And you might notice that you've been overthinking things and worrying about things and anxiety about things. Um, and then Jupiter's in its fall in Capricorn, which Capricorn is also very interesting to think about with the Jupiter energy, because Jupiter, it's not thinking, right? We talked about like Gemini and Virgo. It's like thinking about things too much to make them happen. And then Capricorn's about working really hard and putting in the hours, and like, you got to work harder for this. And Jupiter's like, nah, like sometimes things just come to us. Sometimes it's when we're not working and we're actually resting, when we're actually dreaming, when we're actually in this like lucid state, that things come to us. And that, my friends, is Cancerian energy. It's our intuition. It's our dream state. It's our like self-care and like nurturing and mothering of ourselves, where we can manifest the best things, right? So Jupiter's exaltation in Cancer is about these, I think about like a gratitude practice, how we say like gratitude magnifies more to you. That's very Cancerian, to like kind of feel into that gratitude, feel into the abundance that you already have and nurture that. There's also this sense of like taking care of and taking care of what you already have, taking care of those around you and yourself, and how that can also draw in more to you. Yeah. So gifts and blessings, we think of like this very feminine, magnetic energy. Cancer energy is very magnetic. I don't know if you have anyone around you that has a lot of Cancerian energy. It's a very magnetic energy, and it's a very contained energy. And we think of like Cancer, like going into the shell, there is this containment. Cancer rules all of the fluids in our body, our breasts, if you have breasts, our chest, and then the fluids in our body. So we think about this containment, like the containment of our body, literally, and the fluids within. Um, and Cancer is also like this very creative, artsy energy because of that containment. Uh, there's also like this intuitive and um, emotional intelligence, clarity around like care for others and uh, compassion for others and sympathy and charitable things. So this is a big shift from going from Gemini into Cancer, and the hope is that we see this also in the collective. The hope is that we see this also in our and like our social lives and what's happening in the world. So, understanding Cancerian energy is understanding like this very mothering, loving, nurturing energy that is contained and that also has boundaries and bounds. So, Jupiter in Cancer overall is very much about this sympathetic and charitable and expansive energy of care and nurturing. There's definitely some moodiness with Cancer that we want to acknowledge. There's also a very changing because it's like the moon cycle, it changes very quickly. So where you know, that changing and moodiness can be exalted also. It can grow. And so being aware of that, being aware of also like going too deeply into your shell of protection, taking too much containment and too much insular familial energy. We have community. We just came out of like that Gemini energy. We have community for a reason, and we want to maintain community and maintain those things as we're nurturing our roots, as we're nurturing our family, as we're caring for the children, as we're caring for the land. There's also like very much a nostalgic energy with Cancer, and this nostalgic energy can also um, bring in like very amazing finds, like vintage finds, antiques. If you value those things, this is the year to like really hone and like magnetize some amazing finds to you because that nostalgic energy is very much a Cancerian thing. And then when we think of Jupiter, it's like increased nostalgia, increase of like vintage finds. It's also an increase in like connecting back to childhood, connecting back to childhood friends, connecting back to family. All of those things are very important. And then the flip side to that is we can hold on too much, like holding on to relationships or familial dynamics that are not good for us, holding on to things, holding on to weight. Jupiter in Cancer can be a time of weight gain, especially fluid, like water retention kind of things. And so we want to definitely be aware of that, especially looking at what house this is in for you. I talked about going too deep into our shells. That's really important to be aware of. Like we still want to have that, like that um fluidity around other people and community. Um, Taking care, if you do have breasts, this is the year to take care of your breasts, self-care, self-massage, caring for your breasts, eating well. Those things are all very important. Valuing yourself, self-care, um, amplifying compassion for yourself, heartfelt connections. And lastly, I'm like, I just want to make sure. Land, real estate, family money, resources, those kinds of things, depending on what the house is in for you, and of course, your family and where you come from. This could be a really abundant time around those things. And when I talk about like the abundance and possibly too much abundance, I talked about like weight gain, holding on to things too much, like literal things, relationships and family dynamics, and then holding on also to beliefs around your worthiness based on how you were raised or based on your childhood. Think about like that inner child and how it didn't get nurtured or the things that it didn't receive. And those things can come back up during this time period. And you want to make sure you're nurturing that inner child within you so that you don't accidentally like recreate some of those dynamics. Another thing that I think is really interesting about Jupiter in Cancer is that the Cyrus dog star is also like at the midpoint of Cancer, and thinking about Jupiter hitting that and Jupiter like really activating that Cyrus energy. That Cyrus energy is very much a caring, intuitive, like psychic energy. And so, really understanding that you also might be getting these like connection to this higher part of your mind. Your dream state might be more active and more vivid. I have a whole video that I'll post above here about Cyrus in your birth chart and that point in your birth chart. And I think that would be really helpful to look at along with this video because um, it's really exciting that Jupiter is like activating that. And we're likely like be able to like really feel that when we get closer to that activation that's coming at the midway point of Cancer season. So, which is around the 4th of July, which is really interesting as well. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about Jupiter and Cancer. It's kind of amazing that that's all I wanted to say, but it's true. It's true. If you have any questions about this transit, you can post them below. So now I'm going to go through each house and what this activation might look like for you. We're going to start with the first house and we'll just move right through. Okay, so if you have Jupiter transiting your first house, which means that you have Cancer in your first house, this can be one of those places where you have to be careful about what you're putting in your body, um, any kind of growth type things, because in the first house it's like your identity, your body. So you just want to be really mindful in caring for your body and caring for your mental state and your belief system, because that's also first house and our mind body connection is so strong. So anything that you're believing about your body, you'll likely manifest or create. And this is an opportunity to also rebirth that. So to restart and create some beliefs about yourself and like work your identity. There can be a lot of generosity and abundance that comes to you because first house is your identity and who you are, and people might just start acknowledge you and start giving you things or sharing with you things. And then so that's like the positive to this placement, that naturally like your identity is connected or like activated by this good fortune of Jupiter. And then the flip side, as I mentioned, is like too much weight gain, too much eating, too much thinking about yourself in a negative way. So just being aware of that. Okay, second house. Second house is your resources, your values, your boundaries, all of those things, your money. And Jupiter hitting your second house is a blessing. It brings a lot of abundance, brings a lot of learning and growth around what is important to you. What are your values? What are your values in particular around money, but also in relational situations as well, around your possessions, a second house theme. Um, and there can be this fear of letting go too much, fear of spending, fear of investing in something. And, we always want to like really feel into that and like understand what's important. But you just want to, during this transit, not hold on too much, right? Not like be too skimpy on like what you need and what your investments are. And then the flip side is also true, where you don't want to flow out too much without like bringing that into yourself, because it's really important to have both. However, with Jupiter and Cancer hitting your second house, there's definitely going to be some increase in maybe not necessarily money, but values and the way you think about your money and the way that you're changing your belief system around your possessions. And that is all very abundant. So any investments in money type matters is probably going to be beneficial to you with this transit. So watching and being mindful and being aware, and then also really making sure that you're not too skimpy with things that you need or want. Okay, and then the third house is Gemini's house. It's very much a house of communication, and having Jupiter move through here, having Cancer as a placement here, can be tricky because sometimes Cancerian energy can shut down. There can be this passive aggressiveness that naturally is part of Cancer energy. And personally, I think it's that when you have Cancerian placements, you're so psychic and you can feel people's energy that sometimes you're like, do I really need to say this? Yeah, you really need to say it. And that can be really hard. It can be really challenging. And this placement with Jupiter moving through your third house could challenge you in a positive way to grow in your communication skills, to grow in the way that you're presenting yourself, and also your like confidence in yourself and like valuing yourself and showing up in a different way, specifically related to your siblings, related to your closer knit community that you maybe feel like siblings with. Is it a really important time for you to step up to the plate and like expand your persona and your communication? So it's a beautiful time. Any kind of learning and growth around that would be probably really beneficial. Fourth house, if you have Jupiter moving through your fourth house, if you have Cancer in the fourth house, um, it's a very protective energy. It's a natural place for Cancer to be. It's Cancer's house. There can be an overprotection. There can be an expansion of protection. There can be like putting up cameras in your house or outside of your house, or worried about the neighbors, or worried about the house. There can also be a protection of your physical spaces, like not just your house, but like out in the world, like a protection of your children or your family. Um, and that's a positive thing. Like we want to be protective, and it can be too much. So really understanding and knowing what your fears are during this time is really valuable, because our fears can also manifest if we're not careful. So we don't want to manifest from our fears. We want to be aware of our fears. We want to manifest from our love. And that protection energy is love. And so feeling more into the gratitude during this transit is going to bring you a lot of blessings, while you can be overprotective of your home environment. But this is also true that you could create a lot of wealth and like prosperity in the home environment. So you could be given a grant or like refinance your home in a way that makes it feel more safe, or makes it feel like insulated more. Like there's a lot of different ways that this could show up, but it definitely directs correlates into your home environment. And then let's say like you're traveling right now, you don't even have a home. This can also be going back and reworking some of the like home environment and the protection of self in that home environment. So what I mean by that is that inner child work, going back into the home energetically. This is something that I do with clients. Like we'll go back into the home as the adults and like care for whatever aspects or parts of the child that didn't get protection. So it's such a valuable process, and I love doing it with people. So if you are interested in that, definitely reach out, because it is really, really powerful to do that. So that's the fourth house. Okay, moving into the fifth house, having Cancer in the fifth house, you're going to have Jupiter moving through here. Fifth house is romance. Fifth house is creative. Fifth house is like children and like childhood and like playfulness. It's like a very playful energy. And this is likely going to be a time where you could, if you're not already in a like romantic partnership, this could be a time where you really draw in that person. There can be this feeling, meeting someone like you've known them before. It can feel very familiar. It can feel very juicy. And this is if you have this fifth house energy, even if you're not single, you got to be careful, because you might be meeting people that you feel very passionate about. And it's important to understand that Jupiter and Cancer energy, again, can be too much care, too much nurturing, which can also lead to, right, like things happening outside of your relationship if you don't already have that set up, right? It can also be too much that creates a baby, right? Because it's like too much passion is happening and it can't be contained to create something else. So really paying attention to um, what you're wanting to create in this transit, because if you don't consciously know that, you could unconsciously create a lot of things and a lot of drama in your life in this year. And I was just talking about this Eros. It's a very Eros energy. It's a Leo energy. It's a very passionate. And but it can create a lot of destruction in your life long term. So you really just want to be aware. But if you are single or you do have, the capacity to meet new people, this is going to be a really amazing time to meet new people in your life and feel very comfortable with people, which is really cool. You have Jupiter and Cancer moving through your sixth house. Your sixth house is about your routines, your rituals, and this brings an expansive quality to your self care, your practices that you have for your nurturing yourself. And then also sharing that with others. So, if you in your day to day work, in your day to day routines, being able to share more and nurture others because you're nurturing yourself is a very powerful energy, and it's very much about amplifying the self love and from that place, amplifying the care for others around you. Sixth house is also the house of like pets and caring for your pets. You could, manifest a new pet coming into your life if that's a place that you're in. And there's this like loving quality to this energy this year for you to really feel into a deeper love for yourself and those around you and like even pets. Okay, moving into the seventh house. Cancer in the seventh house with Jupiter moving through there is a very powerful energy. Seventh house relates to anything you're in partnership with, any contracts you have, but also specifically around marriage and partnership in whoever your other is, your other half. But it also can be business partnership. It can also be like the lease on your home. And so it could be during this time that you're like reworking or the mortgage, like reworking your mortgage or working with someone, partnering with someone around housing situations or yeah, like different things happening with your home. Uh, but there can be some power dynamics at play. We're thinking about, Cancerian energy, and we're also thinking about in another, there can be this way of like, we talk about like love bombing, right? There can be this way of like, or in, if you translate that love bombing energy, sure, it could be your partner, but it also could be with someone you're partnering with, like when someone's selling you something. I think about that, like feeling like, oh, love bombed. So then you buy the thing. It's a very much like a nurturing the sale type energy. So there could be some power dynamics. Make sure you're staying in your power. Make sure you're communicating effectively and being aware of if someone around you, if someone close to you or someone you're partnering with is somehow manipulative in ways around love bombing or in ways around power dynamics in over nurturing or over mothering energy, and just growing into your own in that way of like your own powerful self around really nurturing yourself and communicating from that place, like owning your worth and sharing from that place with the people around you and the people that you're partnering with. Yeah, that felt really important to share. I don't know. Okay, then we're moving into the eighth house. Okay. Now, we just talked about power. Moving into the eighth house is about power struggles. It can be for real, for real. There can be a lot of struggle around like what's yours and what's mine. And this alchemy of where you and I create this dynamic that is like unlike any other dynamic that I have with anyone else, right? So this alchemy happens in the eighth house. It's the house of sex, death, and taxes, right? Jupiter in Cancer moving through there is very much about like you being aware of how you might be tricking yourself, you being aware of how you might be struggling with your own shadow and projecting onto the people around you. While Jupiter in Cancer is this expanding this self love and self worth, you really want to be aware of that. Where are the places that you won't accept love? Where are the places that you feel totally unlovable, or that you're like, if people are being generous to you, you feel unworthy of that. Like, because this is the house where unexpected money, uh, inheritance, insurance money, like things can just come through. Really practice that container of being okay with things coming to you, being worthy, and working on your shadow. This is a great placement to work with me this year. Um, to really expand what is possible for you, and really kind of that gratitude practice can be really important this year, and stepping into like this new version of yourself that is less likely to project onto others and is more likely to like bring things to you in a really positive way. I need a sip of water. We're moving on to the ninth house. Cards. I decided not to show the cards this time because I feel like yeah, the last time I showed cards, I just feel like people can like over identify with the whatever the title of the card is or whatever. And I really feel like there's so much more happening in the pictures, in the quality, the way that I identify and connect with the cards. And it's really important for me to like I like being affirmed in that way, but I'm not like over relying on the title or the cards, if that makes sense. I'm mostly going by the house itself. Okay, so we are on to the ninth house. All right, yes, we're on the ninth house. The ninth house, having Jupiter in Cancer moving through your ninth house, very powerful because Jupiter loves being in the ninth house. I was like, it's a natural place to shine, all about travel and expansion through the mind, a higher education, uh, learning new things, teaching new things. And there's this energy with Jupiter in Cancer in the ninth house about going back and learning some deep traditions, some deep like lineage practices, some deeper ways to connect into your roots, sharing from that place, learning from that place. It's a really powerful time for like traditional reactivations. And this can also be like learning from your ancestry, where you come from, and sharing from that place, leaning into like the elders that are still here and those that have passed over, like connecting with that energy of the elder to share from a place of wisdom. So there's a big gain of wisdom for that ninth house. And so really connecting with elders, connecting with ancestor medicine is really powerful during this year. And it could lead you to travel to the land of your ancestors. It could lead you to travel in your mind through books and stories around like oral traditions, or uh yeah, like listening to something, a podcast or something around lineage medicine or something. So all possible, all possible. Okay, Jupiter in Cancer in the 10th house. The 10th house is our work in the world, is how we show up. It's like it's the opposite energy of where Cancer actually feels comfortable or wants to be, because it's Capricorn's house. It's very much Saturnian, like hard work, vocation showing up. So there can be this desire to like hide away. There can be this desire to like go into the shell and not show your greatest gifts to the world. However, it's really important for you to do that. And during this time, it's going to be even more important, because if you don't, listen, you have gifts, you have skills. If you don't own those and share from your place of sharing, you can be exploited, you can be taken advantage of, and we don't want that. So there can be this energy of your gifts and your abundance being used inappropriately or for things that you don't feel good about. And that can leave you, even if you're like financially doing well, that can leave you in this place of lack or feeling um, the opposite of abundance. in yourself. And it's really important for you to really like nurture and feel good about showing up in the ways that you want to show up. And yeah, maybe that's still like being at home with the kids, or maybe that still shows up in a different way. It's just making sure that you are not taking for granted, making sure that you're honoring yourself and that you have boundaries with the people around you or the people that you're in partnership with or working for or communicating with. Really taking this year to develop affirmations and explorations around your work in the world and how you want to be remembered, your legacy, your ways of caring for yourself and like identifying for yourself. So even if it's not your work, if it's your vocation, if it's like you're at home with the kids, but you love to write, making sure you make time to write this year, making sure you're making time for the things that you love. If you love to paint, if you love to, whatever it is, making sure that you make time for that so that your energy is not exploited into things that you don't want to be associated with or that make you feel like you're not enough or no one's valuing you. Okay, moving on to Jupiter in the 11th house. If you have Jupiter in the 11th house, I mean, if you have Cancer in the 11th house, you have Jupiter moving through here. This is very much about really sharing your skills. Again, kind of a continuation of this 10th house energy. Like instead of going into your shell, coming out of your shell, communicating, sharing. 11th house is future goals, vision, community, like expanded community, social media. You're like, however, you're communicating your business, if you have a business, or communicating with the public, so to speak. And empowering your voice there, empowering yourself to share your skills, to share what you have to share with the world, and very much thinking about the next 10 years, the next 5 years, and places that you feel important to expand your role in the societal structure, how you want to be seen, how you want to be communicated with, where you want to hone more of your own skill around nurturing your voice, nurturing your reputation, nurturing your goals. Um, yeah, so this 11th house placement is a very interesting placement for Cancer to be because it really pushes edges because Cancer really just wants to go into the shell and like not necessarily be at the spotlight. But there is this energy about leaning into that spotlight, no matter how comfortable, trusting the skills that you've been developing, empowering yourself to like speak your truth. 12th house, the final house here. Jupiter moving through your 12th house. Anything moving through your 12th house is intense, but Jupiter moving through your 12th house is expanding your psychic visions, your dream time, your intuition, all of those things, your connection to God, goddess, source, whatever you believe or want to believe. And having Jupiter in Cancer here is very much amplifying that intuition, that magnetism. The deep, deep well of wisdom is getting increased here. Definitely, this is a placement to work with me. And it's also a placement to like really journal this year, really like carry something with you that you can, like, when you think of something, you can write it down before you forget. Like, there's a lot of insight coming in for you. It's very rich. I think in like the 12th house is like, it's the womb energy. It's like gestation. Um, it's the unseen though, and it's like this magic. It's like the deep, dark, fertile ground, the womb of the earth, and what can be created through that. And one of the ways that we create through that is by capturing, like somehow, some way, maybe a creative way, um, like again, back to like the creative arts, some way of capturing a song, whatever it is, capturing that creative energy in a way that feels like it it captures some way that you have of connecting to source that can be shared with others and provide inspiration. Because Jupiter in Cancer is all about like nurturing others as well. And the 12th house is definitely like it's your connection with God. And it's also like a very much like a I want to say a public house, but it's like the house of the collective and the collective unconscious. And anything that you're working on in that realm is also to be shared with the collective, if that makes sense. And this is very much about like your creative connection to source and sharing that with others. This can also be like literally if you are pregnant this year, this is like gestation, you know. And so really feeling into that magic, feeling into the creation, you're capturing a creation literally and growing it. There's definitely like this weaving that's happening for you this year that is important for you to, again, capture in some way for you to feel strengthened in your fortitude for whatever's to come next. So this year is very much like a strengthening and a fortifying of your spiritual connection to share with others in some way that is like mutually beneficial and is going to be with you for the next few years as well. Yeah. So that is Jupiter through all the houses. Thank you so much for staying tuned. The card that I pulled for all of us for the collective card is the cosmic whirlwind. And I think about this Cancerian energy, I think about this Jupiterian energy, and we are literally in a cosmic whirlwind. Nothing is set in stone, everything is fluid, everything is moving. Thinking about the water of Cancer. And thinking about that abundance and expansion of Jupiter, there's very much this cosmic whirlwind spinning and expanding and growing. And it's really important for us to feel into that and feel into the possibility. This is also a very important time to pay attention to our waters, like the water of the world, the land, and nurturing and caring for those things that nurture us. And so this is a really important time for that activism work that has kind of gone on the really far back burner, that really is about taking care of our resources for future generations. So hopefully we can all be a part of that together. I really, really appreciate you watching this. I would super appreciate it if you like or leave a comment. That would be great. And if you do want to work with me, you can go to the link below, which is my website, and book your time with me. I do want to say I am offering in the fall, it's like a 14-week program with me, going through each one of the archetypes of the divine feminine. And that early registration is also up on my website. If you're interested in that or you want to learn more about that, reach out to me. I can share more. And it's going to be a very exciting time to do this work as Jupiter is in Cancer and all of the other things are happening. Oh, I didn't talk about transits. I think I'll just put that in the notes below because my voice is tired.